You're listening to the Scarf Bagara War, part of the Talksport Fan Network, and charity partners with Mentel, for county fans, by county fans.
Good evening and welcome to episode 15 of this season's Courtyard Club Call, which is brought to you by the Scarf Bagara War team. As is now the norm, we are recording this on a Sunday evening following the 0-0 home draw with Wigan. I'm Jimmy Harmer and I'm joined as always by Mr. Dan Culverwell. Hi, Dan.
Evening. Are you all right?
I am very good. Thank you, buddy. Some boxes in the background because I am moving house this week. So pray for me on Thursday and do the opposite of a rain dance if possible, because I think it's going to be chucking it down, as is normally the way when you move house. Anyway, yeah, cheers, pal. So we're going to kick off this Courtyard Club Call with a short clip from Charlie's post-match interview with John Kieran, and then we're going to get into the game.
Similar to what I've said previously, really. Disappointed with our first half performance, wasted 45 minutes. Our lack of understanding around what's required to I suppose get a foothold and do the basics in the game and get yourself up the pitch and have control in their half of the pitch. We didn't do. We made some really poor decisions, and half time came at a good time for us because it allowed us to make the change we did. I thought the subs had a real impact on the game, and we were much better second half.
Yeah, so I mean, Dave has sort of hit the nail on the head, I think, and I think this is going to be a recurring theme from our chat tonight, Dan, and that is first half versus second half. Big difference. Do you want to take us through the team then? So obviously the starting 11 was pretty different to the team that finished the game. We made 4 subs at half time. So yeah, take us through the team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with I think the starting back 4, most of us got right. We've obviously Corey Adai in goal. You had Ibi Toure as your left back, Ethan Pye, Fraser Horsfall, and Jay Mingy making a start. His first start, obviously, since the Bristol Rovers game, which I thought was a big positive. Sort of a midfield 2 as such as Camps and Bate. You had Farini just in front of them 2, and then with Wootton at the top of the tree with Barry and Jack Diamond on either side.
Yeah, and then subs, obviously Ben, goalie, and then Alafi, Fevrier, Powell, Connolly,
And Odin
Bailey, of course. Cool. So let's just briefly talk about the stats. We're not going to go into as much detail as we normally do, and we're going to talk about the whole game rather than splitting it into first and second half. It probably flows a little bit better doing that. So ball possession was very similar. We had 51, they had 49. Our XG was 0.82, and they got 0.24 off 3 shots. You only got 1 on target. We got our 0.82 on the XG off 13 shots with 4 on target. They committed 22 fouls in that game, and if I remember rightly, they only got 1 booking. Was it?
I don't even think they got a booking, to be honest. I know
they got 2
bookings.
They got 2 bookings. So the first one was James Carragher, and I mean, like, getting the reses for naming your son after you. I'm sorry if there's any county fans who are called Tom and you've named your son Tommy, but how self-absorbed and narcissistic must you be, Jamie Carragher of Liverpool fame, to name your son after you? It was winding me up all game. And then he got that yellow card. It should have been a red. I thought red all along, and a few people in the main stand that I've spoken to as well said it was high, it was late. So he was lucky that was done, 5 minutes in or something. If that had been half an hour in, I think he'd have been off. Yeah. So 1 booking for him, and then you had the gorilla that was all over Wootton's back. Ameson, he was called. So he eventually got a booking in the game as well. Both well deserved. So we got 3 bookings, Dan. Can you remember what our bookings were for?
I think they're all for dissent, wasn't it? Barry for bouncing the ball. I think Camps talked himself into a book, and did Ethan Pye talk himself into a book as well?
Yeah, so Pye was being again manhandled from a corner. I mean, that the guy had his arms all over him, and he just got frustrated, and the referee ended up giving them a free kick and Pye a booking.
Yeah, even though Pye, I think, was on the floor, and at one point was virtually in a headlock as well.
Yeah, I mean, John Kieran's done this to death. Obviously, we were both at the game, so we weren't listening to John's commentary. But his getting the reses when he was on the pod a couple of weeks ago was, why is the referee stopping the corner? He should just let the corner take place, and if it's a penalty, it's a penalty. If it's a free kick to them, it's a free kick to them.
Yeah.
So
Preempting
again,
foul.
another example of that. Okay, so yeah, so that is that's the starting lineup, mate. First half, you may as well talk about it, and if we end up going into the second as well, let's go for that.
I thought Wigan were really, really good. But there was points in that first half, I was actually counting the players, thinking, have Wigan got an extra player on the pitch? Because it just felt that way, that they always seemed to have a player free to pass the ball. When they were going out wide, it seemed to be always 2 against 1 on our fullbacks. And it just, like I say, it just felt that Wigan actually had an extra player on the pitch. And I think we just sort of struggled with that to cope with that first half for sure.
I think if they set up very similar to Leyton Orient, except they were incapable of getting a goal. So once again, they had a super high press. At one point, I counted 5 of their players, basically marking our 4 and then Lewis Bates, or 4 defenders and Lewis Bates. So there was no out ball whatsoever. They were tall at the back. They were winning pretty much everything in the air from what I could see. And because of that, we were really struggling that first half to retain any sort of possession or control of the game. And I think that was my overriding feeling of that. And they also pressed us really well, like really, really quickly. But you know that when they do that, the opposition do that, they're going to tire. They can't do it for 90 minutes. And unfortunately, when we played Leyton Orient, they managed to get a couple of early goals, didn't they? And then that allowed them to sort of relax a little bit. Wigan didn't do that. And because of that, they had a choice, I thought, to make at half-time, 60 minutes in. Were they going to settle for the 0-0? Or with tired players, were they going to bring some substitute? And they brought, 4 substitutes on, I think it was, maybe even 5, actually. Were they going to try and go for it? And they ended up doing neither, I thought. And we were poor first half. Lewis Fiorini, he's only 21, 22, I think it is. He's young. He's only just come into the team. He's come back from injury. He had no pre-season. He's got some good pedigree. But how do you think, Dan, he played that sort of number 10 role for us?
Like I say, you saw glimpses, unfortunately, and just glimpses. Like, he's one of them ones that I think he needs game time, 10 games under his belt to settle in. Like you say, he's not had a pre-season. He looked very lightweight on the ball, getting shrugged off it a lot. I think he lost his 50-50s or every single one. There's definitely quality there, and you could see in 1-2 little passes that there's quality and a vision there. But it's like you say, it's one of them players I think will come good in the second half of the season. After Christmas, I think he will come good then. But at the moment, like you say, he has to get the game time under his belt. And like you say, it's a struggle, but you just have to get through these games, don't you, with him?
He seems to be a number 10 that doesn't particularly like receiving the ball with his back to goal. He pops the ball off a lot, doesn't he? He sort of flicks the ball around the corner. I wonder whether that's something to do with his poor injury record over the last couple of years. He doesn't like that feel, or someone coming in from behind him, like tackling him. And he sort of, I don't watch a lot of like Premier League football, but he sort of reminds me a little bit of a a Bruno Fernandes type of player, in that Fernandes isn't the sort of player that likes receiving the ball like that. And because of that, he'll probably give the ball away quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we were seeing in that first half, in that when the ball did find its way into him, he wasn't really using the ball well enough. And then when Nick Powell came on, I mean, I'm going to go in second half now. When Nick Powell came on, he was, I don't know whether it was against Wigan, it's a former club, and he had that fire in his belly to sort of say, look, I'm still relevant sort of thing. But he was absolutely brilliant.
Chalk and cheese in performance levels. It was just night and day, really. And like I say, we don't want to sort of bash Fiorini at all, but it is what it is. But like you say, he'll come good, I think, in the end for Fiorini. And like you say, when Powell came on, it was it was a bit of a statement from him, wasn't it?
Yeah, and obviously a special word, I think, for the other substitute, so Bailey, when he came on again, he's been, I wouldn't say frozen out of the squad. I mean, he's played in the Bristol Street Motors games, hasn't he? But we've sort of, and I think Dave alluded to this in, if anyone's listened to the full post-match interview, it's 8-9 minutes long. We've sort of brought a lot of very new players into this team, haven't we? So we've done this sort of is it the Emperor's new clothes, or is that a really bad example? No, it's not that. It's like new shiny things. Yay, got new players. Let's put them in. So we've sort of put Diamond in, we put Fevrier in, we put Fiorini in when we've been able to. Obviously, Barry's come in. Yeah. And you forget that Powell and Bailey know the way that Dave wants to play. And just they slotted in beautifully, I thought. And they will give you the control that you're not going to get with Diamond. Diamond's a runner. Fevrier's a runner. Barry's a runner. If you don't have Collar in that team as well, and the fact that Fiorini was losing the ball a little bit, that's where we really suffered, I felt, in that first half. And just bringing Bailey and Powell on, we just seemed to knit everything together.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's a transition into it between, from last season to this season, different, and we are playing a different style of football as well. I think, we are playing it more out the back, obviously with Corey. Obviously, I think Jay Ming has actually been really, really good, but same again, he seems to be not fully fit, and we're sort of chucking him in there, I think, over necessity, because we need that position, and obviously he's picked up another knock and had to come off at half time. Obviously, if Carl Noyle was fit, or even Maka to a certain extent, you're looking then at a back four that was the same back four as last season, and that gives us some, familiarity in there. And like you say, once you put Camps in there as well, Wharton as your target man, and the spine of the team then looks very familiar to last season. And like you say, just them injuries as well as a lot of new players coming in. If just for me, like you say, I don't think we've played the same consecutive 11 for 2 games on the trot really since the beginning of the season. Maybe the first 2 games we did, but I think, obviously the last few games we haven't. And I think, like I say, it'll all settle down, I think, from the second half of the season, and we'll have a consistent best 11. And like I say, if you went out to all the County fans asking what's the best 11 for County, you could ask 1,000 people, and I think 990 of us would get, completely different 11s to everybody else on who should be starting right back, who should be starting full back, who should be up front, who should be in midfield. But like you say, for me, obviously at halftime, the 3 subs came on. Connolly came on for injured Mingy. Bailey came on for Diamond, who was not his probably best game again in the County shirt, was a bit anonymous, but he weren't the only one. And obviously Fiorini came off for Powell as well. And like you say, Bailey and Powell definitely put a marker down for the next game to be in the starting 11. I think they were, you couldn't fault them. I thought they both kept the ball really, really well, both tidy, both were positive in the way they play. So yeah, I think them two have just given Dave Challoner another headache.
I think we managed to control the game a little bit more in their half as well. And that was like the actual where we were passing the ball was probably a good 10, 20 yards further forward than maybe what we were doing in the first half.
Yeah.
And that's what you get when you've got players who are so comfortable on the ball, like Powell and like Bailey. And they were bringing Barry into the game a little bit more as well. Toure had the confidence to come forward and support down that left-hand side as well. Connolly's looking pretty solid, I think, now. I think he's settling into this sort of back 3 / back 4 with Fraser next to him. I mean, just touching again on the first and second half stats. So first half we had 2 shots, none on target. Second half we had 11 with 4 on target, and that really shows the dominance that we had. They had 1 first half and two second half. So just sort of touching on the sort of the solidity of our team. It's another clean sheet, and I'm going to put it out there that Pye and Horsfall are the best centre-back partnership in the division. Maybe not the 2 individual best centre-backs, but the way that they work together, one goes forward. I mean, we had Horsfall Maldini at one point in the first half, didn't we? He found his way somehow into their penalty box after a meandering run, left-footed shot.
It's like, I think once he got to like 20 yards out, I think we'll all of us going shoot, and then it's like, what's he doing? He keeps on running. It's like, and it's like he must have been near the penalty spot, I think, or by the time he's actually got a shot away, he's obviously got dizzy, bit lightheaded, being that far up the pitch, without it being a corner. But that's. And for me, that's how with teams that want to press on you, that's how you break the lines, by having a player take the ball forward and carry the ball. If passing through the lines is not working, then you just someone has to carry it out through. And that's what he did perfectly. And it gives everybody a lift. It gives confidence. I think it's just a shame he didn't actually score a goal, because I think that if he scored, it'd have been a goal. We'd been, Louis Barry competition would have been over. Horsfall would have won it for goal of the season there and then. So yeah, but it's same again. We've said it before. The thing that I think we do struggle about is our being clinical. And before the Shrewsbury game, our shots on target percentage is about 36%. The Shrewsbury game is 67%. And then Wigan was 31%. So 31% of our shots are on target. And I just think we have to get that up. We create plenty of chances. I just don't think we're actually getting that sort of gilt edge chances. We're not working their goalkeeper enough in games. And like you say, that I think that's what we sort of really struggled with. I think Wigan definitely struggled with that. And for me, if they had an out-and-out goal scorer, they would be a top 6 team. I think they still will be near the playoffs at the end of the season. But for me, that was clear they missed an out-and-out striker. Plus, with Wigan, it might be. I think they had a lot of lone players on the pitch, which was obviously covered in the preview with Russ midweek as well. So when you've got a lot of lone players, what their team might look like come January, if some of them players are recalled, might be a different team. But yeah, I thought they were, for quite a young team as well, they were quite master of the dark arts as well.
Well, yeah, as we've said, 22 free kicks they gave away. Just going back to the shots. Okay, so what, 31%? I think you said were on target. Yeah. I reckon, without looking at the stats or anything, I reckon Barry had half of our shots in that game, maybe 40%, somewhere between 40 and 50%. I'm going to say something slightly controversial here. And Louis Barry, if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to apologise. We love you to bits. We think you're great. And you've scored loads of good goals. But my concern of 9 games in is that I don't see his overall game progressing from last season. Okay. And he's coming up against League One defenders, not League Two defenders. And most of the time, he's coming up against 2 defenders at the same time, because that's what teams are now doing. They're putting 2 men on him, or at least having one person on him and the other one stopping that chop back in on his right foot. Yeah. So he can't do that sort of coming in and then shooting. And I'm just crying out for him to just be a little bit more cute, a little bit more intelligent, and pass the ball a little bit more rather than running down these blind alleys. What do you think about that, Dan? Am I being tell me, am I being harsh? And if I am, that's fine.
Well, before the Shrewsbury game, we had 107 shots at target at goal, with 39 of them on target. So 36% shots, before the Shrewsbury game. The shots inside the box is 70, outside the box is 37. So for me, we having, plenty of chances inside that box. So it's not Louis Barry trying to cut in across the 18-yard box and taking a shot from 20 yards. He might be doing that once a game, but it's not like it's the one-trick pony. I would like to see him a lot closer to Wootton. I do feel that Wootton wins a lot of the balls, and there's a lot of the second ball that comes off Wootton is not picked up because there's nobody close to him. That's what I would like to see actually from Louis, is to get nice and close to Kyle Wootton and feed off him, opposed to, like you say, him getting the ball out on the wing and sort of trying to cut back in on from the 18-yard line. Same again, I'd put him on the other side. We know he's not a crosser as such, but just to put him on the other wing, just to give them another problem.
It's a good point, actually, and we have said this before, that he did most of his damage when he was in a 2 with Tanto last season, and that's when we had our flying wingbacks, I would say. And this season, maybe Dave, a couple of reasons. One, we haven't got a right-sided wing-back, like a proper wing-back. Okay, you can play Fevrier there or Diamond there, but they're not a proper wing-back. So you're sort of relying on Connolly to get forward and sort of provide crosses. Same on the left-hand side. At the moment, Torre seems to be playing more of a defensive, sort of left-sided defender. And I wonder whether, when we do get the guys back from injury, whether it's Rydell, whether it's Maka, whether we do go to a more traditional sort of 3-5-2 or something, or 3-4-1-2, and then maybe Barry can play a little bit more central. I think you're potentially right that with putting him on that wing, it is forcing him as a right-footed player to chop back inside. And then because the defending team knows that that's what he wants to do, it's sort of nullifying him a little bit. So,
and the problem is, as well, is that Dave Challoner said before that, we're a crossing team. We score goals by crossing the ball into the box, and that's how Wootton is best played, by feeding him crosses. Well, obviously, we're not doing that as such at times. We've Barry out on that side. And just like I say, I just think, I think Wootton looks better when he's got somebody alongside him. Because, like you say, he gets a lot of flick on, there's a lot of knocks, and it's the second ball that he's then trying to pick up off and stuff like that. So, I think once we get, let's say, wing backs and more options that we can play, I expect Barry to sort of maybe move in a little, or be given a bit of a free role, to be honest, to sort of pick up the ball where he wants. But at the moment, he's a little bit not predictable, but once it's been highlighted what his threats are. They've watched all the goals that he's scored, and they'll all know that they'll all pick up bits and bobs, where the threat comes from. And like you say, we just see the doubling up now of him.
I think it's also interesting that now that we've got Lewis Bay and Camps playing man of the match performances pretty much every game in my in my eyes, and then Norwood as well. That's sort of, if you want to get Powell into the team, you've got to play him further forward. And I'd questioned whether he could do the collar sort of pressing number 10 type of role. But on the evidence of one half yesterday, I think I've seen a stat somewhere that he won more one-on-one tackles or something than Collar has won in like a whole game, like in all the games that Collar has played. And he will also benefit from us being a crossing team, because that guy can head a ball. Okay, the quality wasn't quite there against Wigan, but he still got his head onto a couple of chances. But if we are playing him as a slightly further advanced player, he's going to pick the right balls out to Barry potentially, or Diamond, or Fevrier, who potentially running off him. But also he will get himself in the box and hopefully head balls and score goals. So I think we used him as a defensive midfielder a lot last season due to necessity. I think we were pretty well stocked up front with Paddy and Tanto and Wotton being relatively injury free, certainly towards the end of the season as well. So Powell ended up playing that sort of deeper role. But I'm really looking forward to seeing him getting in the team again and hopefully scoring some goals for us.
Yeah, I thought it was a class performance, to be honest. And same again, you know, he gives you options, because obviously he sort of went up front. He, like I say, felt that him and Wotton really sort of give a threat, an attack. And then obviously when Bate came off, he went back into that midfield quarterback type role in midfield. But yeah, no, same again. I thought he was quality. Same with Bailey. Come on, Connolly. I have concerns about his pace, but he seems to be sort of more of awareness. He's getting a bit more sharper with his passes and his touches. And there was quite a few nice little 1-2s. But obviously with Bailey as well on that side, he's got a little bit of, defensive cover with somebody with pace. And I think Bailey sort of tracked back a few times and got him sort of covered up where Connolly was caught up a little bit up the pitch. But yeah, like you say, there's a massive argument that Bailey and Powell, should be starting the next game at Charlton.
Yeah. Bit of a shame that it's going to be 2 weeks from now. So one thing that we haven't talked about, and I sort of wanted to cover, as well as we play second half, they could have actually nicked the points. So we were fortunate, to my eyes, in the actual game itself, to have been saved by the referee, the shit referee, but he certainly saved us when he blew up for a handball. Now, this is only going to be useful for people watching this on YouTube, so I apologise to any audio listeners, but I'm going to play a slowed down clip of the incident where the ball comes across. So the ball's coming across from the left-hand side, and it bounces once. Their player sort of hangs his arm in the air a little bit, and then the ball seems to roll off. So I'm going to try and move this forward. It rolls off down his arm and then onto his leg, and then the ball gets deflected back to the player, who then smashes it in. Okay, so it's really hard to show. It's dead grainy, but I'm sort of moving the mouse around, and it's at this point here, the ball's coming through, and I tried to pause it, didn't work. I think it does hit the player's arm, and the referee has got an absolutely brilliant view of it. He's looking right past one of our players, but right past their head, and he can see that happening. So for me, the guy's got it right, and that has got us a point, because I don't think many refs would maybe have seen that. It happens so quickly, and it would have been a travesty if we had ended up losing that game.
Well, to be honest, I think a lot of fans thought he'd give it offside. To be honest, disallowed the goal. I say, obviously, where I'm lower tier forward, I didn't see the handball at all. Like you say, I thought it was offside, but I'm not going to.
The flag wasn't raised. The flag wasn't raised, and if it had been offside, it would have been the linesman on the restart would have been a lot closer to the corner flag.
Yeah.
But on the It was basically taken from that sort of position in the penalty. I think Corey actually took a few yards further forward, but I don't believe it was offside. I think it was handball.
Yeah.
So lucky. So yeah, so we don't have a game now for a couple of weeks. What's your view on us getting this cancellation? Got 2 under 21 players, so Teo and Fiorini, and then you've also got Torre, who's off with Guinea, is it? I think.
My argument is that could we put our strongest 11 out against with the players that are fit against Wickham next
Yeah.
Saturday? I don't think we could. We lost 2 fullbacks, left backs. So yes, people say you could play Ethan Pye left back, but then obviously if Mingy's picked up an injury, it's going to be a makeshift defence. Wickham are a very good team. I don't see. If we have the rules state that we can call it off, then why would we put ourselves in a position where we'd be fielding a weaker team to benefit another team that will be up there or possibly could be up there in the playoffs at the end of the season? We want to be able to put out our strongest 11 in all times that we have to. We don't make the rules up regarding these rules about 3 international players have been set for decades. We didn't make them up, but obviously if we can use them to our advantage, that's well within our right.
I mean, it's obvious that Dave is very happy to have that game called off. I think again from his post-match, he was asked about it, and he was more than happy to take the 2 weeks. And obviously, it does mean you got another Tuesday night or another Tuesday game coming up. But am I right in saying it was a home game, wasn't it, against Wickham?
Yeah.
It was home. So
home.
that's going to be harder for them, one would imagine. They're a London club, in fact, north-ish London club, coming up on a Tuesday. I believe their record isn't that great at Edgeley Park on a Tuesday night. I think I saw something on X saying they've got 2 points out of 39 whenever they've played at Edgeley Park on a Tuesday night. So maybe there's something in that as well. But yeah, I'm more than happy for that. Obviously, it does mean next Saturday you need to work out what you're going to do. Are you going to
on a match? Well, on a personal note, obviously, because being a season ticket holder and living so far, that Tuesday night games are out the question. So, it's another game I won't be able to attend. So, I've lost out on a personal note where obviously a Saturday game I can attend it. It's nice and easy as such as that. But yeah, no, like I say, I'm, you could argue are they going to lose money, hospitality and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't think they will lose money on the hospitality. I think they'll still get the same number of seats. They might not get the same number of away fans come up. I know that some Wickham fans are being really salty about it, but on the Wickham official webpage, when they put the ticket information out, they did put at the bottom that this game may be subject to being postponed due to international call-ups. And, and some Wickham fans have booked trains and hotels and stuff, and it's like, well, it's the Wrexham game is also another international fixture weekend, and there is a good possibility that Wrexham game will be offered onto a Tuesday night fixture as well. So yeah, it is just we should be celebrating that we've got players that are playing international football. We might be losing Torre for the whole of December and January because there's a African Cup of Nations, I think, that he might be playing in.
Really, was that last year?
No, there's another. I think there's another one. The AFCON is this December and January, I believe, as well. So we should be celebrating that we've got international. I mean, personally, I've said it before. I think Corey's should be looked at in the Jamaican squad. I think he's well worth a call up in the Jamaican squad. I think he's better than the goalkeeper at Reading that's also in that squad. And I know Callum Camps has not played for Northern Ireland since his youth days or at youth level, but on his current form, I think he should be in that Northern Ireland squad, Callum Camps, for sure.
That's a good shout. Yeah.
So and you look at players like Bate and Barry should be represented at our under 21 levels and stuff like that. But I think we should be celebrating that we've got players that are playing at international level, and players will get better with that experience as well, which for me is better for the team.
Okay. Moving on to the referee. Okay. So if this is being clipped, okay, listen to the whole podcast rather than just like stating me. Although having said that, I think everyone will probably agree with me that the referee was Bobbins. I thought he had a great first 3 minutes, and then he was crap, basically.
We every week we sort of say, he's not the worst, he's not the best, or we won't see worse than that this season.
I'm sorry, Dan. When both teams are booing the referee,
I know.
at one point, Wigan was saying like, "You don't know what you're doing," and then we were singing, "You're not fit to referee." There's something very wrong if both sides don't like him.
Yeah, but it's what it seemed is that, like I say, he must have seen it where we've said this ref can't get any worse, or refereeing can't get any worse than this, and he's sort of gone, "Hold on, lads, hold my beer, hold my glasses," and just gone out on the pitch. It was. And it was, to be honest, I didn't manage to sort of have the time to look at the ref, because normally when County post who the ref is and how many games he's done and stuff like that, I usually have a quiet look at it, and I didn't have a look. So I know that in previous games we've got a habit of having referees that we've had before in the National League level, or seem to have come up the levels with us as such, and they're quite clearly above their level at League One. I don't know much about this referee. I can't even tell you if we've had him before, but yeah, like you say, when both teams are calling for his head, then it's not a good sign. And I think, was it one of the bench at Wigan? One of their bench
Yeah, they got booked, I think.
got booked as
Yeah.
well.
But I haven't got a clue why he was booked. But I mean, the only thing that I would say in his favour is that I felt that he let the game run pretty well. Some referees can be quite picky. I think that changed sort of in the second half. He was started blowing up for stuff that he wasn't doing in the first half. But yeah, okay then. So not one that we'd recommend to the Premier League then. Fine. Moving on to the table. So we are 6th in the table, played 9, 16 points. So just under 2 points per game. Dave, again, interestingly, in his post match, said that he'd sort of thought that we might be on 19 points for the after the first 9 games. So he's doing his little predictions and stuff, and as he rightly said, he doesn't predict us to lose that often, so that's always a good sign. You don't want your manager thinking you're going to be on 3 points after 9 games. So yeah, we're only 3 points off that, and we are behind Birmingham, who are top, Wrexham and Mansfield second and third. Gosh, that sticks in my throat. Lincoln, then Wickham. So you're right, Dan, it would have been a bit of a top of the table sort of clash, playing Wickham, especially without a bona fide left back. And then I don't really care about who else is below us, to be honest. So top 6 as it stands. Would you take that at the end of the season?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, on the points per game, we're averaging at the moment 1.78 points per game. That at the end of the season will just make us, well, just over 81 points. And that should be enough for us to get in the playoffs. So yeah, I mean, like I say, we've played 9, won 4, drawn 4. We've lost 1, and rightly so. We lost that one game. But we're competing, and that's, like you said, all I wanted to do is compete at this level. And I think still under Dave Challoner that we will be successful over a period of time with him, as we have been. So yeah, I'm over the moon with this. And same again, you can see that we are a team that is still developing. We're not the finished article. Hopefully by Christmas, actually, we've managed to nail down what our best 11 is, and getting players into form. But yeah, I'm happy where we are.
Yeah, me too. Spot on, Dan. Okay, so we're up to 40 minutes, so we'll finish it there. Thank you for joining me once again, as always, Dan. Always love having a chit chat about the game with you. So that's about it for the Courtyard Club call this week, and we haven't got a game next weekend. We were having a bit of a chat before this, and we might put something out, like a little special out. So Sunday, we'll record it Sunday evening, and it'll come out Monday morning, as always. But obviously, it won't be covering a game. We'll talk about what we might want to do, but look out for that anyway. So from me and Dan, we'll see you soon.
And that's a wrap for this episode of the Scarf Bagara War. We hope you enjoyed the podcast. Remember, you can catch us every week on your favourite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts. And a huge thank you to all of our Patreon members. Your contributions help keep the show running to bring the content you love. If you'd like to support the podcast and get access to exclusive special guest episodes, ad-free podcasts and a monthly giveaway, head over to patreon.com/the Scarf Bagara War. And don't forget to follow us on social media for updates, behind the scenes content and more. You can find us on X, Facebook and Instagram, all at County Podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed the show, please leave us a review and share it with your fellow County fans. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Scarf Bagara War. Come on, County!